this morning. I'm Ralph Torrie. I'm your local Green Party candidate in this election, as I was last time. Elizabeth May, who we're waiting for here and who will step off the train briefly to say a few words, is the reason, more than anything else, while I got into politics. I was involved all of my life in green issues of one sort or another, and the more I worked on them, the more I realized that we need changes not just in tinkering with the system we've got, but we need changes in our whole political approach to the way we approach environment and economic development if we are going to dig ourselves out of the mess that we've got into, again, not only with the environment, but fiscally as well. And so I was very excited yesterday when the party's platform came out. I don't know how many of you have had a chance yet to look at it. It's on our website at ralphtorrie.ca. It's a pretty quick read. It's about 8 pages. There is a 135-page version there as well, if you're an insomniac. It's all costed out. We're the only party that has tabled our budget with the Parliamentary Budget Office. We reduce the deficit faster than the Conservatives, but we do it in a way that sets the stage for long-term economic growth and restoration of the environment and cleaner air and cleaner water, stronger communities, a smarter economy, and true democracy. We believe that we need to shift taxes away from income and payroll taxes and towards pollution. We need to be taxing the bad things, not the good things. We believe that we can't be giving tax breaks to large corporations when hospitals and schools and small businesses are struggling the way they are. We think that the key to economic renewal lies in small towns like this one and like you find all through Northumberland, Quinte West, and that the role of the national government, to the extent it's capable of doing anything, ought to be to get out of the way of the energy and the intelligence and the innovation that exists at the community level, make sure the laws are in place to protect the environment, make sure the tax system and the economic development policies are working for small business. We'll take it from there. People know how to renew an economy if given a chance. What makes it difficult is when the old economy, the oil and the gas and the nuclear companies and the large corporations are continuing to have an unfair advantage through these tax breaks and so on that they get from their friends in the Conservative coalition. One of the great political leaders of our time and the political and economic and environmental leader of our country, Elizabeth May!
I had to have a mad, passionate embrace. Yay!
Hang on.
Hello! Hi, put your mouth close and pull the trigger. That sounds very menacing.
That line always worked for me.
Well, they try to keep me out of the debates. I don't take no for an answer. I urge you to help me. We have only until the 12th of April to try to convince the nameless, faceless corporate executives of the consortium, hereafter referred to as the media cartel, to keep me out of the debates, let me in the debates. We're just going to see the same old line parties yell at each other with a predictable pageant of absolute pablum. So if we're going to change politics in Canada, we need real democracy in Canada. If they can get it in Cairo, we should be able to get it in Ottawa. So thank you, Greens. I'm so thrilled to have Ralph Torrie, one of Canada's leading analysts of energy policy, running for us. I'm just thrilled. We'd be thrilled to get an endorsement from Ralph Torrie, much less to have him running here. And of course, I'd like to recognize a little known, but really gathering his credentials as we go forward, that Farley Mowat, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but Farley is going to jump on board with us.
Elizabeth, when you're here, I have nothing to say.
Wow! Unbelievable!
Well, we're endorsed and supported in our campaign to get elected. We're endorsed and supported in our campaign to be heard by some of Canada's leading voices. And one of my favorites, of course, is Farley's. And we have to go already. So this whistle stop is moving out. We're on our way to Montreal. Tomorrow the rally is in Halifax. Tonight the rally's in Montreal. Last night we had over 400 people at our rally in Toronto. So we are going to we're going to make history. victory in this campaign. Thanks for your support. It's looking very good for me to win my seat in Savage
I know.
Violence.
I know it is. Of course it
I
is.
just got an endorsement. You never.
I've been burning joss sticks every morning.
And that's what did it.
Anyway, yeah, I'll shut up. I have the support right now of some heavy hitter conservatives
Oh my
who
gosh.
used to work on Gary Lunn's campaigns.
Well, it's very simple. I can't say no to Elizabeth. And my theory is that because Elizabeth is elected as the leader of the new party in Canada, that Canadians will not be able to say no to her either. And in which case, we may save this little country. We may save our lives, we may save the nation, we may save the world. So that's a good enough reason to support her.
This is what's happening in my riding. This is a prominent businessman in the community who came into our office the other day and tried to rip these up. First he presented them to me one after the other so that I'd see how significantly. I've always known he was part of Gary Lunn's team.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, he couldn't.
But you can't rip them.
You can't rip
That's
them
clever.
up. It's like, yeah, you can't rip them up. So he said, okay, I'm giving them to you. And I want to take out a Green Party membership right this minute. And then he gave me a check for $1,000. And then he said, and I want a lawn sign and make it a big one.
Oh, why?
Because he's making a statement to the whole community that it's time to have change. And he's a friend. He said, this is awkward. This is painful. Gary Lunn's been a friend for years. Our families are friends. But he said, I've had it.
We're having
with what's
the
going
exact
on in this
same
country.
the exact same conversation in small town Ontario.
Yeah.
I have people knocking on my door and saying, I want the biggest sign you've got. I am so fed up.
Yeah.
And these are, all kinds of people, middle class people, well-to-do people, men, women, young people. So there's something going on at the grassroots that's going to start bubbling up into the polls you people look at before the end of this election campaign.
Canadians, like 80% of Canadians in polls say they understand climate science, they accept it, and they're worried. And they want to see someone speak out. And then we have this rather interesting conspiracy of silence. The national news media and the other political parties have decided that climate change isn't an issue because it seems to be out of fashion. It was interesting once, but it's no longer interesting to them, which is bizarre given every other nation on earth is dealing, and I really mean it, Canada's government is in lockstep with Saudi Arabia in the international negotiations. But if you look at China, India, Brazil, all of Europe, you look at what's going on in Australia, New Zealand, all around the world, Africa, we've got countries saying in Africa our development path has to be carbon neutral. It was first it came out of Ethiopia, and it's being rapidly accepted by other countries in the developing world. We want a carbon neutral development. And here's Canada saying, oh, well, in this federal election, climate change isn't an issue. Well, it's the issue.
Yeah.
It's uphill, more uphill in 2011 to get the Green Party message out than it was in 2008, and I never expected that. I thought we're more credible now. We had 1 million votes in 2008. We're the only party that improved our vote in 08 over 06. I thought I'd be in the leaders' debate, of course, because it was accepted that fight was won. And it's not just being out of the debate, it's just being marginalized altogether. But except that the voters, if they find our platform, get all excited and think, well, this is the party I was looking for, this all makes sense. My theory is that for whatever reason, which is, I think we can speculate as to what it might be, the mainstream news media finds the presence of the Green Party disruptive to the predictable, banal, and unchallenging prospect of an election. They know what's coming up, how to control it. They can continue with the pointless narrative of Stephen Harper's that this is a majority conservative government choice versus a coalition choice. I mean, there's an awful lot of errant nonsense that's put forward as though it's the issue of the election campaign. I mean, I want to talk about poverty in Canada, the gap between the richest and the poorest. I want to talk about climate change, obviously, but I also like to ask why we need a Royal Commission of Inquiry or some public inquiry into what happened in Toronto at the G20. There are an awful lot of issues that I will raise if I were in the debates that take them off script, make it harder to actually deal with treating the election campaign as a product and production to a predictable outcome. I'm unpredictable, and they don't want to cover. So there's the element of conflict of interest, the element of collusion. It's very unsavory. In a healthy democracy, this couldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen if our democracy was sufficiently healthy. I can't imagine any other country on earth where a party that got 7% of the popular vote was excluded. You know, any multi-party system. But 7% of the popular vote and 1 million votes in 2008 should have been automatic, especially since we're running 308. We just got confirmation that 308 candidates' papers have been filed. So we are more national.
Wow.
Right now we're ahead of, I think, some of the other major national parties. I don't know that the Liberals have their full 308 yet. Last I heard they did. So, you know, in that context...
We're having a hard time hanging on to the ones they've got.
Well, some of the ones they actually don't want to hang on to. But, you know, it's difficult. 308 candidates is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
We do background checks. We do our background checks. We ask the Stephen Harper security forces to just run through Facebook for us. Anyone they reject, we want. So that's how we operate. That background check. Oh yeah, no. Our platform is fully against nuclear power being exploited, and part of our budget item is eliminating subsidies to the nuclear industry as well as eliminating subsidies to fossil fuels and biotech. But our longer document, Vision Green, goes into some detail about our energy choices and why nuclear isn't a good option. So we're not, you know, we would phase out existing nuclear facilities, making sure. My concern is the government of Canada right now, you know, that they're kind of cooking the books on the deficit. The deficit figures you see in the federal budget would be $8 billion more, except that they have banked as though they've already accomplished it, selling $8 billion worth of federal assets. So the baseline case for our financial situation in Canada has a bit of wiggle room, to put it mildly, by saying we've got $8 billion less deficit because we will sell $8 billion worth of federal assets. That's why they're selling the prison farms. And they put AECL up for sale, but nobody wants it. So, and they stuffed into, you know, the last Budget Implementation Act in 2010 was 800 pages long. They had 30 pages on the budget, and the rest was gutting the Environmental Assessment Act and permission to sell AECL. So it's never gone through a committee process in Parliament. No one's ever looked at the details. So the question is, if they sell AECL right now, SNC Lavalin is looking at buying it. Who knows what kind of bargain basement price we're going to do for a nuclear white elephant. And I'm all for selling AECL. We should never have a crown corporation producing nuclear energy that's constantly sucking taxpayers' money to a useless hole that'll never be anything but radioactive. But the problem is, if we're selling AECL, who's responsible for long-term nuclear waste repositories? Are we taking the liabilities of all the nuclear waste in Canada on the taxpayers forever, while we sell off the profit-making sections that are potential within? You know, we're abandoning nuclear isotopes. That whole Chalk River fiasco remains unsolved. So you end up wondering, you know, what are we doing in Canada? So we're calling for a full inquiry into the nuclear industry in Canada.
I can't give anything about love babies.
What's the number?
It's 410.
Free bird!
It's in different numbers.